Go ahead, Ann.
Good afternoon, everybody. On this nice sunny day, I know it's a challenge to come inside, but I appreciate everybody doing it. Okay, so we have, I'm going to call to order. Hold on, we're just doing a little technical stuff.
What's better than one Ann Corman?
We won't take a vote on that. We don't need to. Okay, we're all set. All right, so I'm going to call to order the May 12th Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee. And we have 3 legislators in chamber. We have Amanda Champion, Greg Mezey, and myself. Have we heard from Veronica or Rich? Okay, so maybe they're running late and or got caught out in the sunshine. Do we have any public comment, Taylor? No public comment? Okay. And then changes to the agenda. Anybody have anything that they'd like to change? Okay. We're going to move right along to minutes approval. On packet page 2 are the minutes from our last meeting of April 14th. So thank you for doing those, Taylor. Any suggestions, Amanda? Oh, you want to move those?
Yep.
Okay. Seconded by Greg. Any edits, suggested corrections? Okay, all those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. And for the chair's report, I wanted just to mention I attended, as Veronica did, the EMC, the Environmental Management Council yearly meeting in person in Stewart Park. It was very cold the other day. It was 40 something, so it was pretty chilly. So there was I wonder if that had something to do with it. There was a moderate turnout, but got to talk with folks that are doing this work around the county. And one of the things that came up and seems to be coming up in a lot of liaison is that they want more communication back and forth. So we suggested that some of those members could come here more often. That I asked Krista McCarthy to make sure they get the agenda to see if there's things they want to talk about. And Veronica and I too, we made a commitment to reach out to them more. And I do attend most of their meetings. So next, as part of the chair's report, we have a report discussion from Cornell Cooperative Extension, and we have the director. Is your Cynthia? Is it director? It's Cynthia Cave Gaetani.
Beautiful. Yes.
Is it pretty close? The director of CCE, and Rob Brown, the finance director, is here. So welcome, both of you. And I know you have a presentation. Mm-hmm. And do you want questions at the end, or is it okay if people stop you?
If you could stop us, I think this would be good if we could operate as a conversation. Ideally, when we originally wanted to sit in front and present to you all, it was in the spirit of providing an annual review. However, we're halfway through the year. There's probably a lot on everyone's minds, and there's a lot to talk about. So if there's a point at which we need to defer and go to a different direction, we can do that. I do have information about some of our programs. At CCE Tompkins, we have about 35-ish programs, so it's really difficult to provide an annual review of all of what we do, but we do try to do our best to do some highlights. So my point today is to review some of those, to give some highlights. Also, I would like to pose the option, and something we would like very much to do is to be more present and present more frequently, kind of in the spirit of just what you were speaking of, and just being more available for questions and better engagement with each other. We are a partner of the county, and we would like to be as present and available and interactive as we can be, to be the best we can be in this county, for this county. So we can revisit that, how that might look, if that's something that we can talk more about toward the end. I am having a hard time getting this to load up as far as a presentation. I'm not sure why, because typically I don't do this poorly. But let's see if I got it. Is it showing? Oh, I did it. Okay. So we are CCE Tompkins. And our update was for 2024, but certainly we can go in a different direction if we need to. Again, the main reason we wanted to get in front of you was for what I just spoke about, and really just to talk about the other piece was one of the highlights, or one of the takeaways, I should say, that I got last year through the budget process. It was my first year through as a director for CCE. I really did hear that there was some concern or some challenges really in terms of, are we operating in silos? Are we operating in redundancies? Is there a lot of repetition of work that's going out in the community as far as being a not-for-profit organization? And I want to definitely address that point and how we work very hard to work collaboratively and to assure that there isn't any redundancy, but more complementation, complementary work, so that the work that gets done is multiplied in terms of its impact through the county. So, that being said, not to insult anyone's intelligence at all, but it helps me to review this. I've been with CCE for a year in this capacity, and I frequently have to revisit, like, what is County Law 224? What does that mean? How does this work? And I'm still evolving the answer to that. But what I do have, and I hope you all had a moment to read it, is I provided a nice breakdown of what County Law 224 really is. And I'm not going to read it to anyone, but I wanted to ask if that was helpful, and were there any questions in regards of what is a Cornell Cooperative Extension Association and how the law 224 works. Just curious if everyone got it, if that was useful.
I'm not sure it was in our packet. We got the PowerPoint and lots of other materials, but I don't know if we got that, so maybe we could get that forwarded to us.
Sure, it should be titled Cornell Cooperative Extension. What is a Cornell Cooperative Extension Association?
That's packet page 25.
It is.
It's at
Thank
the
you.
end of the presentation.
Sorry, yes, I should have, that was the title, but that really does it does discuss what a 224 association is. I'll just be real brief. Basically, the way that County Law 224 operates and how it's constructed, money flows from the state to the counties. It's basically set up in a way that it enables a partnership between county, state, and the local associations. Whereas the monies do not go, Cornell Cooperative Extension College does receive the monies. I'm going to read this really quick. Through the Colleges of Agriculture and Life Sciences, we refer that as to CALS and Human Ecology, but they're not, strictly speaking, part of the university as an association, so CCEs are not specifically part of the university, but the way that we're structured in New York State, the administration and the oversight does come from the university. So that's a point that makes things a little bit different for New York State as opposed to other states throughout the nation. We have land-grant universities in every state, but in New York State specifically, that's the only way that that's structured in that way. That's a highlight I just wanted to point to. A lot of times people ask those questions. Are we employees of Cornell? The answer is no, we are not.
Right, that often is brought up, so thank you for clarifying that. And so looking at the last sentence, professional advisors and vendors such as attorneys, accountants, auditors, and insurance providers need to thoroughly understand the association's unique status. Do you get insurance and do you get audited through Cornell?
Go ahead.
Okay, I can jump in on that. We do have insurance. We do not receive insurance from Cornell. all Cornell Cooperative Extension Associations share the same insurance and risk management agency.
Can you get about 4 inches from the mic? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So all county extension associations have our insurances and risk management through the same firm. And that firm bills Cornell, which bills us, but Cornell doesn't provide it. County Law 224 is also our establishing document. General nonprofit organization will be founded through articles of incorporation and so on. We were created by this law. It establishes that we are an instrument of New York State, and Cornell University is our regulator.
Okay, and so just to reiterate, you get no funding at all.
Not baked in. We may have
Groups,
individual
but-
partnerships with individual faculty where we share a grant, but that's it.
Okay. Any other questions on that document on packet page 25?
It just helps to unpack it a little bit. Okay, good.
All right, thank you.
I just want to say it was helpful, thank you.
Okay, good. I like one-pagers. They're easier.
Yeah, we do like memos, thank you. Kind of like that, yeah, thank you.
So yeah, the unique design, the way we have it in New York State, it does give us strengths and as an association. So the strengths of our ability to respond to community needs is what really is probably the most important point behind the structure. And I think the greatest strength is our flexibility, ability to respond specifically by county. Each county is very different because of this structure. But of course, as we just discussed, challenges are in its governance and in funding. So I think those are the highlights, the high points. Let's talk a little bit real quickly about funding. I'm going to bring it to
Really, we want to talk about our programs and what we do, but because our relationship is not just in service to our community, but a financial one, we both figured that it would be helpful to give a little bit of a trend here. This first slide with the 23 and 24 just shows some of our trends. You can see we have recognizable patterns in terms of revenue share. One of our most significant sources of revenue, that big gray wedge on the lower right. New York State does provide our employee benefits through the Comptroller's office. And that's an in-kind. We don't receive the cash. They provide them. That's a huge source of revenue. The county is part of our bedrock as it was designed to be, although the share of support from the County of Tompkins within our overall budget has been going down the past few years. And then our other most important direct funding relationship is with the state of New York. And then we have a hodgepodge of other sources. Part of our state funding, also through County Law 224, because we were created to be counterparts and partners to our counties, there is within that law a specific statutory match called New York State 224 funding that goes directly with all combined appropriations, contracts, and donated use of services or facilities that our counties may provide, which is currently about 2% of our revenue. So it's based on a legislative formula there. If we could just go on to the next one, which is this year. Very similar share. Overall, the share of our direct financial support from the county has diminished further compared to previous years. And we were quite happy that we were able to expand on our historically low funding relationships with the United States and secure some new federal money, which was frozen before the contract even started in February. The county has generously supported our workforce development initiatives for several years. We didn't ask for more funding for it this year because we'd found private and federal sources to do that. And now we've restructured and scaled back our workforce development program again because it is what the presidential administration would classify as Green New Deal DEI all over it. That's gone. We have also been successful in pursuing and receiving a bit more support from the state of New York. Our share of funding from the general public has remained fairly small. And also within our packet, we've got a 2024 and 2025 table showing all of our current county revenues, be they our appropriations or our contracts with county departments. And our
That's on packet page 24, the one you just referenced.
and in the 2025, I would like to specify that the contract is the max contract value. For many of our contracts, especially with DSS, we don't receive, they're referral-based, so DSS has not referred to us a full contract value in the past several years. So in that max contract value, the unshaded column to the left in 2025, that's the maximum amount that we can do. And other than our fee-for-service programs, most county departments contracted with us for less than our overall operating cost to provide the program. We perceive the county to be our #1 most important business partnership, bar none. And we do make whatever accommodations we can to work around county department budgets and to provide the quality of services that they need.
Any questions on any of that?
So, and then within the appropriation allocation, this pie chart shows not just where we put our target appropriation, but it also highlights, unlike a private nonprofit, our mission or missions are also set by the state legislature. So those are outlined here. The 47% blue slice, that's our operations. That's just about everything and anything the association might need, is including our administrative overhead, but not exclusively. And then our youth and families area receives the next largest share because it has the least funding from anywhere else. Agriculture and horticulture comes next, in part because we have mandated work in farmland protection, which used to be independently funded by the county, but is now incorporated into our target appropriation. So that slice is just locked in there because we have to do it. And also very cool, our lead on that just got invited to join a who's who of farmland protection in New York State think tank group, which is pretty cool. And then our nutrition, health, safety, and financial education programs, which really are our most diverse potpourri within our issue areas, come next. And at the current time, we are best funded in our environment and climate change area through state funding. And so we direct the least of our local funding resources there.
So we're just showing the county contracts that we had for 2024, and we're comparing those to 2025, and you'll see that they are pretty much the same. The only real significant change year over year was in 2025, the way to go, which was the transportation piece, and that fell within the planning department, I believe. Was it in planning department? Yes, that was where there was a change, but the other contracts within the planning department remained. So year over year, our county contracts have remained the same. So really what I wanted to highlight was how the investments, what those return on investments were and what that really represents. So this is the major part of the presentation in terms of the work that happens at CCE. I want to highlight the amount of volunteer hours we have. We don't have a full accounting of 100% of all of the areas that we have our volunteer hours. It's not recorded the same in every area. So the most dependable area, and we are getting better about that, by the way, the most dependable area that we have recorded hours are within our 4-H program. We have 5 different areas or programs by which volunteers actually work within. But the one that we feel very secure is with 4-H, and in the last year of 2024, there was 4,921 hours of volunteer time. We do have 413 different active volunteers working within the agency. So those individuals provide an enormous amount of work and support, and they represent a social as well as an economic return on investment, just in terms of the work that they do for the county. It's significant. The beautification program is the other area that we have specifically understood how many volunteer hours are accountable in that area, and that ran over 700 hours last year. So there's quite a significant amount of contribution that is made. So they are a big, huge contributor. We also have a lot of impact in the youth of our area. And our youth program area is not a fee-for-service. It is free to those that participate, which is why it is heavily backed by volunteers. This is the partner that delivers, we are the partner, CCE is the partner with the county that delivers the evidence-based programs for all of what is known as the Rural Youth Services. Rural Youth Services is in every single municipality, and that is we collaborate with several different other agencies. That includes all of the schools, all of the municipalities, the libraries, the community councils and commissions, the county legislator and the county youth department, the New York State 4-H, and the Brofenhenner Center at Cornell University. So there's a lot of collaboration that goes to bringing impactful youth programming throughout the county. And I believe last year, I'm not going to reiterate last year's presentation, but I believe that there was some impact statements that were provided in booklets about the 4-H programs and rural youth services. So, I think it's very much felt in this community. Yeah. Amanda?
Go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, my son participated in the Enfield Rural Youth Program for many, many years, and it was wonderful for him. And the fellow who was the leader became like a role model, and they had a lot of great experiences. So I really appreciate that program, and I know that they're helping kids all over the county. On a different related question about primitive pursuits, I know that that is one of your biggest programs. Is that still growing? Is that still bringing in a lot of revenue for the organization?
It is. Last year, well, we lost money last year in operations, and this year we have a lower enrollment, and we're not 100% sure what's driving that, but we're seeing that that is not specific to primitive pursuits, but other areas as well. And, you can assume what might be feeding into that, but we really are not 100% clear on what's driving that. I mean, you can make a lot of assumptions behind that, of course.
Yeah.
But it's not, unfortunately, driving revenue at this point.
Okay.
And I don't suspect that we're not anticipating it this year either.
Yeah.
The question mark,
Yeah.
unknown factors, we actually canceled 3 of our 4 overnight camps this summer because of low enrollment.
Wow.
Just canceled the third one, yeah. So
Interesting.
it's unfortunate. We're seeing a reduction in applications.
I mean, there used to be wait lists, and, I guess I just wonder if people feel like they can't afford it in these sort of challenging times.
Yeah, and we do still continue with the reparations and the other supportives for those individuals who are not as able to
Right.
afford. And
Wow, that's too bad.
yeah, so thanks for the question, and that's kind of a sad report.
Yeah. Well, maybe, things go in phases too, and maybe in the next couple of years it'll kind of pick back up. Yeah, but
As is life, yeah.
yeah.
It is a unique model program.
Yeah.
Just tagging on to that, what Amanda brought up, have you heard of any other programs having issues with enrollment for summer
It's
programs?
primarily primitive. We're doing well with
Right.
RYS.
Yeah,
right?
for our programs, that's the one that's most impacted, seeing as it's the venture model program, as opposed to Rural Youth Services, where families can donate if they want to, but it's not supported by the fee structure. Other programs that are operating camps and so forth, speaking to my other finance people in other counties, that is being experienced statewide.
Thank you.
CCE Tompkins, Cornell Cooperative Extension of Tompkins County is like no other. That is an understatement. It is absolutely, it's the second largest in the state, and it is one of the ones that provides some really cool state-of-the-art programs. When I came to CCE Tompkins, I'm from the Broome County area, but I also worked in Tioga. Just the things that go on in each CCE is very specific to the counties. But Tompkins specifically, all of the research that comes and the incredible state-of-the-art programs that come out of here are just something to be really proud of, really, really proud of. And I'm really grateful to be part of such an incredible association. We are oftentimes the lead agency for many of the programs. I think many of you know about the Green Workforce Development Program. We are the lead agency for that, but we also serve as lead agencies for a lot of other areas. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of what that looks like through our green energy programs, but also in agriculture. I will want to let you know that last year when you graciously granted us an OTR, I think you call them, what are they now? Enhancements. I just learned that word today. Enhancements. We received $50,000 for a grant writer, or what turned into be a grant supporter OTR, and it was $24,000. So we split it up, $25,000 last year, $25,000 for 2025. Those funds have really provided some incredible outcomes. I want to give you some data on that. Because of those funds, there have been 5 different workshops since September. 3 of those were hands-on, 2 convened around specific funding opportunities, and we had 68 total attendees for those 5 workshops. We operated 27 one-on-one coaching sessions, 8 informal meetings, and as a result, 21 grant applications were supported, which totaled projected $940,000 in requests. That's a significant increase in support that these farmers have applied for. I will note that we do not have an accounting of what's been awarded because those have just gone out. And as we receive actuals, I will let you know what the amounts that have actually been awarded have been. But as of April of 2025, $940,000 worth of grants have gone out. 2 of them were New York State farm viability programs. One was a USDA HUF grant totaling $200,000, 1 private, and 13 New York State land project New York grants totaling $65,000, and 4 USDA business builder grants totaling $150,000. Notable is that 15 farmers chose not to apply because through this process of learning of what it takes to apply, what is needed, and also what the grant requirements were, they realized that they were not appropriate or eligible, which is a learning and is actually really good. They were able to make those determinations and they could save their time to do something else.
And I think, that $50,000 investment so far has led to $940,000 in grants.
Potential, correct.
So that's applications for grants?
Correct.
Okay.
Applications.
So those are grant applications.
Right. So
okay.
the total that will be awarded, we will let you know so you can determine what we can figure out from there what the actual return on investment is. But I want you to know that's pretty significant.
And that does make sense, as far as if they learned their, how to apply or to streamline their, what they're more eligible for. That's a great asset. And then also, if they doesn't look like they're going to be eligible for something, wasting, because I think sometimes it's like days. It could take a couple of days, hours. As far as hours,
absolutely,
it could take a couple of days worth of their time to fill out an application. If I remember, you folks had said before.
Yeah, it's very significant time, effort, and energy placed. I believe it can take, well, depending on the breadth and scope of the grant, it could take a good couple of weeks to actually get all of the information together and put things together. It's not 24/7 that they're
Right.
working on it, but it feels like it. But yeah, it's a significant time saver.
Greg?
Just out of curiosity, how many of those grants are new grants? Are those all new or some of those recurring?
new.
They're new.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, 100% new. And we just received the funding to pay the contractor and oversee the contractor. All the grant writing and so forth is happening at the farms.
Yeah, so now they have the skills and they can move those skills forward. Every single one of those farmers, every single one of them now have that ability to make those determinations and are independent. So that's, if you think about that, it's pretty significant also.
Amazing, yeah, thank you.
So thank you for that investment. We'd love to continue it. We have, in addition to that, I think it's also good to talk about the Farmland Access Transition Program. There's $11,000 in New York State funding via the American Farmland Trust for a new generation program. This happened between December and 23 to March of 25. So this is happening right now. Through this farmland access transition, we've provided direct support for 20 landowners seeking to find a farmer to lease or sell their land to, and 19 farmland seekers. So through that process, there's been a facilitation of 5 matches that have resulted in the signed agreements between the landowners and farmland seekers. So we're increasing the agricultural scope within the county and matching those that previously couldn't have land and didn't have land but wanted to farm with those who had the land that wanted farming on their land. So it's a win-win. I'm just going to skim through all of the work that they have been doing. They've worked with county planning to support 5 pre-applications for the Farmland Protection Implementation Grant, and that is an estimated between $500,000 and $2 million worth of application grants. So it's in the pre-application phase, and that is through the New York State Agricultural Land Trust. Through that process, we have the potential of $500 to up to $2 million worth of monies coming back into the county. Again, we don't know what the actual amount's going to be, but that's the projected, and that's due to the work that's happened through this as well. So another return on investment that I will report back when we have final numbers, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware that that's another project, another program happening through CCE Tompkins. And the other agricultural component, again, this is future, because agriculture's definitely something that doesn't just happen, it's work. This is more of a 10-year plan that we're looking, but nut cropping is really big for Tompkins County. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the potentials around nut cropping, but we're anticipating, the research is showing that this has the potential, economic potential of about 20% of what the dairy industry or economy brings in, or basically that's double of what fruit and vegetable brings to the New York State agriculture economy. So nut cropping is the future for our state. There's a lot that's in projection. There's a lot of projected development here with a focus on chestnuts, and we're in a really good place for that. And hazelnuts are the other area. So a lot of support, a lot of work is being done so that we have another return on investment. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes that doesn't get a lot of attention because it's kind of, it's a lot of work behind the scenes. But through the work that we do, the results are usually years, a decade from the investments that take place today, if that makes sense. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I didn't realize a few years ago that we had the climate for that. And then I heard of some smaller farmers and just small landowners, putting in some nut trees that were able to bear fruit in a few years.
We're looking at around 1,000 acres is what's needed for it to be, to demonstrate that kind of economic vitality. But we are in the scope is, we're on track for obtaining that. So we're really looking at a future for nut cropping in Tompkins County.
Scattered sites, or do you need 1,000?
They are scattered, but there's different scopes
total
and
of
sizes.
1,000, okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to share, I've been, this past weekend, I went to a hazelnut education event put on by, it was a group of people, including the Ithaca DSA's Equal Socialism Committee at a guy's house who's trying to do permaculture stuff. And this was about hazelnuts. Last year they did one about chestnuts. And one thing I took away was there's a lot of, or like some deep expertise in the community on these nut plantings. And they distributed seedlings and saplings that, will hopefully grow up big and tall someday.
It's a very exciting future, yeah. Okay, let me just see where we're at. How are we with time? So our energy team, this is a program that I don't believe gets a lot of attention. We have a program through our energy team that's called the Climate Smart Communities Education Program, CSC. Has anyone heard of Climate Smart Communities? Good.
We have right behind you, that blue plaque there.
Oh, yes. So you know about this. So I'm going to give you information you already have. That's terrible. I picked a really poor one
We
to
haven't had a
present on.
presentation from our planning department about it in probably a couple of years, so.
It's been a bit, so I can go ahead? All right. So the Climate Smart Communities Program is a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation program. It's focused on local government action for climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. That's really exciting to me. This is a big part of what I used to do in my previous job. Municipalities can achieve levels of certification, access funding opportunities, and receive advantage on application through the state's consolidated funding application. So you're all aware of that. Fantastic. Well, what I will tell you that is since 2017, CCE Tompkins provided education and technical support to local municipalities, resulting in 6 receiving bronze level certification, 17 technical documents related to climate mitigation and adaptation, and an estimated $2.1 million in climate smart communities implementation grants have come into the county. So that's a great return on investment.
How much again was the total?
2.1 million. So we saw
In Tompkins County alone?
In Tompkins County alone. So that's a 20% return on investment was the calculation.
And over what time frame?
Since 2017.
2017.
So
Thank
6
you.
years.
Wow.
I can list where they were, where they went. Would you like to hear the specifics, or
Sure.
You want to hear them? So 2018, the city of Ithaca was awarded $460,397 to initiate a transportation demand management program. Go Ithaca. 2019, city of Ithaca was awarded $266,500 for the Giles Street Sidewalk Improvement Project. 2019, city of Ithaca awarded $100,000 for the Green New Deal Action Plan. 2019, Village of Cayuga Heights awarded $378,393 for a village-wide culvert right-sizing project. 2022, the city of Ithaca was awarded $851,450 to expand Go Ithaca program. This funding expanded services to East Ithaca, South Hill, Northwest Ithaca, West Hill, the Flats, Lansing, Cayuga Heights, and Northeast Ithaca. And as you know, Go Ithaca is now the county's mobility management partner. 2022, the town of Ulysses was awarded $55,400 for a comprehensive plan to update sustainability and climate smart provisions, and that's still in progress today. This is a program that has been cut, not by the county, but through our, we're contracted with the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board. And they rearranged how they allocated their funds. So we took a pretty significant reduction by about 75 to 80% reduction in our funding. So what that ultimately means is that we are going to only be able to do 1 additional project this year instead of what was scoped to be 11. So we had a significant hit with Climate Smart Communities, unfortunately.
And where does that funding come from again?
So
It's from New York
remind me
State?
it's the
Department of Environmental Conservation.
Environmental Conservation.
So it's the counterpart to my service Clean Energy Communities project.
He still knows this so much better. I'm still learning. It's
I
so
bill these
complicated.
people every month, so.
It's still very complicated. But, you know, just having the grant supports is something. I'm seeing a theme, and I hope you see that theme too, having people support other community members. Even though we don't directly receive the funds through CCE, the return on investment is happening in so many other areas.
So this was cut in the budget that just came out?
This was cut by the Department of Environmental Conservation. It wasn't cut. What they did is they reallocated. So whereas CCE was getting a larger amount for Tompkins County, now they're breaking them up in other counties and spreading those same dollars out. So it's taking the allocations and spreading them out equally among the counties, regardless of size and where they are in terms of their programs.
So it didn't cut the whole program, but allocated it so that
It's, yes.
you had a lot less.
Program's still there, Tompkins gets a lot less.
Okay, thank you.
And somebody, okay. So another area that I don't think gets a lot of attention, but I think is really interesting, and based on the call that we had this morning, getting ready for the budget season, that's pretty timely, our nutrition programs. Our programs that provide the nutrition education through SNAP Ed, we've provided education for budgeting skills and practical meal preparation, food budgeting, and food budget management. Over 2,000 people in the county each year. And last year we worked with so many other organizations. We worked with food pantries, Greater Ithaca Activity Center, local schools, Tompkins Whole Health, and many more. So again, showing how there's interaction, it's not duplication of work, but collaboration. The economic value that's brought through this is really more or less realized through the number of people who access SNAP benefits and use them well, and understand how to do their food budgets. And so our program really is about helping people to manage their food resources in that way. Our work around food security includes navigating people to the SNAP benefits. And this is a program that has brought in about $19 million to Tompkins in the last year. Because of that 1.5 multiplier. Every $1 brings in an economic value because it gets spent and it can promote other work, and from that there's what's called a 1.5 multiplier. So that increases in value. So with the current threats to SNAP, what we are really proposing to do, and that's working to navigate the 50% of the population in Tompkins County who is eligible for SNAP but is not receive. We have a plan for how to help navigate people to enrollment so they can maximize and make sure that they are getting the resources and the support that they need. So our program across the whole county and the work with the multiple stakeholders makes us the best place to take on that task, because right now there's only one person in the county whose job it is to help people fill out applications, and in conversation with that individual as well as other professionals, we've developed a plan for an effective enrollment campaign, and that's been collaborated with DSS, some of you all, some legislators, and other stakeholders. So that's something that we have a plan that we've developed and we are ready to implement with funding. Any questions on that? Okay. It's, again, another way that money can be brought into the community. We also have a kitchen. We have a community kitchen where commercial kitchen operations take place. 8 years ago, with the help of I don't know what this stands for, IURA grant, URA?
Urban Renewal Agency.
Thank you, Ithaca Urban Renewal Agency. We launched the food entrepreneurship program and created 12 catering businesses. What's really interesting about that is with the 12 catering businesses that started working with CCE Tompkins at that time, they are still, 50% of them are still in business today. That is remarkable because in the food industry, usually there's an 80% fail rate. So to have that type of success coming out of here demonstrates not just the access to the kitchen that provides the benefit, but the other support that is provided through the staff at CCE, because there's a lot of supports that do take place that happen around these kitchens.
Do you see any collaboration with the new community kitchen?
So they were a part of that conversation. They do not, as far as like referring back and forth, they are communicating and they do refer back and forth. I'm not sure that, I mean, we weren't part of the development of it. They were part of the committee to advise, but not in terms of building it. If that's, you know, I think that's the main limit, was just an advisory. Yeah.
We collaborate.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's
that
more
one's
of an
called the
advisory
Ithaca
board.
Shared Kitchen. If that, yeah, I just went to the ribbon cutting on Thursday.
Yeah, we were part of the advisory on that. I wasn't particularly, that was Chris Kai-Jones who sat in on that.
But you see some symbiotic
Absolute
way
collaboration,
to,
yes,
okay.
yes. Let's see, we also have the kitchen, and this happened, we did offer up the kitchen and reminded people that in the times of emergencies, the kitchen is available, and that has been a necessary resource to people for various reasons. Probation is another area that we do a lot of work. We work to support a program called day reporting. Day reporting is an alternative to incarceration, which helps the county save significant amounts of money. Dan Cornell will speak much more to the actual economic impact, but it is another area that we have a great role in. This is more of a prevention of cost for Tompkins County. Our programs are geared toward an area called emotional regulation. So what emotional regulation is designed to minimize risky behaviors that can have real life consequences and improve a relationship more generally. In other words, we help participants recognize their emotions and their triggers and manage their responses better so that they have better outcomes. Staying out of jail because they didn't lose control means that people can be at home with their kids, keep their jobs, and provide stability to themselves and their families. So where we don't have a dollar amount to that to speak to, there is a significant return on investment in that way as well. Any questions on those? Okay. So I think finally, you know, we talk a lot about energy warriors. This is an area I want to make sure people understand that is, there's a huge amount of collaboration that we do with this program as well. I've had recent conversation with some individuals that were unaware of the breadth and scope by which we operate, and said, you know, I actually said, oh, you should be working with this team, and you should be working with that team, and you should connect with so-and-so. The fact that it is not well understood that CCE is the lead agency for the Green Workforce Development Team or program, but also that we're not connecting with other associations was very disheartening to me. So I want to reiterate the fact that we do very much collaborate and coordinate. We have partnerships with the City of Ithaca, TST BOCES, Reuse, the Employers Council. We have Tompkins County Workforce Career Center, Tompkins County Legislator. So we are very much involved in a lot of collaboration throughout the county, and in doing so assure that we not only are not redundant in what we do, but we assure that what work is happening is empowered and you know, that it's strengthened in terms of how it is delivered. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to depict and talk about a little bit today, just give you a general overview. I did want to also highlight that you have in your packet a digital copy of our annual report that talks about many of our other programs. I want to ask if there's specific programs you're interested in, and if there is an opportunity where we could consider a more regular reporting opportunity where I and or I and Rob, could present what the actual impacts are, talk more specifically about programs, help to uncover and just be more transparent about what's going on behind the doors of CCE. And by the way, it's not behind doors, we're out in the community everywhere. We're not really that kind of an association. We're out and about, but you know, it's an elusive, it's a very large animal. So I want to make sure that if there's any questions or any opportunities for us to be in front of you more regularly, I would invite and be very open to that. So, yes.
Amanda?
Yeah, I would just say on that, maybe if there, as we get to our budget in September and October, if there are specific programs that are going to be asking for additional funding or specific things that you know that you're going to be bringing to us, maybe they could come and give a presentation in July or August. And so we would have a chance to ask specific questions about that particular thing that might be related to the budget.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I don't think it would hurt to, you know, because you have, you know, maybe like a one-pager, kind of like what you did for that memo. You could send that, something like that, with some of your highlights, with like return on investment, those type of things. Wouldn't hurt to send a memo to the legislature now.
Okay.
As we're thinking about that, and because, you know, we're always, not always thinking about budgeting, but practically.
Yep.
And it's getting closer. So I think, you know, I was trying to write down a bunch, but if you have time, I think that would be really helpful.
Very helpful. Okay.
Are there any certain programs or other information folks would like some more conversations about? Greg?
It just amazes me the breadth and depth, and I mean, you guys are all over the place, but in a very focused way in the places that you're in. So it's admirable to, you know, see sort of the reach into various pockets and corners, and you see a need and you start to address the need. So appreciate all the work that you do. I think the cooperative extension model is one that's, you know, very interesting, and I know it does a lot of great work in a lot of communities within the state. So thanks again.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I think just to go add to what Greg said, sometimes I think people in the community, even, you know, for me, starting out at the legislature a few years back, not knowing like the whole scope of what you do is kind of like elusive. So really coming here and giving, and you know, your prior director giving us information, trying to help us figure out, you know, how, you know, what you guys do and how important it is in the community. Mm-hmm. This is really helpful.
Thank you.
And still relevant, you know, I mean, an older model, an older organization, but it's all, you know, things that are still relevant in the community. Greg?
Yeah, sorry, I would say one thing. I know Legislator Brooks has brought this up often about the SNAP benefits and utilization within the community and the rates. And so if that's something that you could keep us up to date on, or, you know, through this committee or through our Health and Human Service Committee, whatever the best conduit is, I know that that's a big priority to try to generate more access and uptake for those eligible aren't necessarily always accessing this service in the way in which could maximize, you know, benefits for those that need it.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. We definitely are really interested in doing that, and we will definitely keep you up to date with as that evolves.
Thanks. That'd be great.
Thanks, Greg, for mentioning that. And I'd be curious to hear more about the day reporting emotional regulation program. Not necessarily right now, but that of all the things you mentioned, that was the most surprising to me, is like, I didn't even know CCE was involved in that corner. And I don't know if that would make more sense at some other time with Dan Cornell.
Sure.
To talk about your two sides of it.
We're expecting that he'll be reporting for you all on just the economic benefit, but it is an exceptionally interesting program. I'll just mention that the attendees are mandated to attend, and once their time ends, we've had several that continue just because of what they are getting out of the program. So it's definitely something that the attendees feel very valuable also. Did you want to say something?
Is there a cost to that program?
No, it's a mandated through DSS.
It is one of our county contracts with a DSS, Probation Community Justice Center.
Okay.
So there is a cost to the county associated with it. We contract on that one for $20,000 a year.
Were you asking if the attendees pay a fee?
Right, if
Yeah.
the attendees pay, but
No, that's what I
Right.
thought you were asking. Correct, that's a
Yeah.
free, it's mandated, but it's free to them.
That's good to know of how it is funded, right? Because we're always, I mean, unfortunately, that's a big part of the job, to watch where the
Right.
dollars go and come from.
A lot of our programs are not, we have some fee-for-service, and it probably would be useful to decide, to help to break up where we have fee-for-service and where we do not. And that might be good information to share also, so that's something we can help decipher as well. We don't bring in a lot of revenue, but we bring in a lot of value, I think. I will just highlight those areas. I think this is probably something that everybody sees going on. This is not new or unusual just to CCE, but in terms of the headwinds of where everyone is looking at what our challenges are financially, that is something I think we could probably just make one statement and just everybody shares it. But we're experiencing the same thing I think everybody else is, and that's federal funding. We did have that Department of Energy funding freeze that was what impacted our Energy Warriors program. And then, of course, we don't know what's going on with the USDA. We haven't heard yet. We don't know what the impacts are going to be. I think we just got wind this past weekend that some potential prospects, but we're all reading the same news and feeling the same feelings along those lines. I hope you found this valuable, and I really appreciate you all giving much more than just a half an hour of your time. Is there any suggestions for future? We talked about a few, and I appreciate that, and I will definitely keep that noted and provide that information. And I hope that you found this valuable. And if there's a different way you would like to have this presented, I'm very open to that.
Greg?
Yeah, no, this was really helpful, so thank you for providing that information. I think, this is an interesting one because this overlaps several of our program committees. While it was helpful for us here, I could see that the day reporting being a great conversation in more depth in our public safety committee, and the SNAP and HHS. So I think that one of the challenges that you have, and Ann and maybe the clerks can help navigate, is where to plug you in to the right committees to give a more in-depth about specific programs that we may be contracted for or may have a financial impact on the county, because this was a really great sort of in-depth, high level, but I know there's some things where we want to maybe dig deeper, so plugging into some of our program committees at the legislative level would be helpful. And again, Ann, I don't want to speak for you, but I know it's hard to have an organization that has a reporting to one committee, but then has some overlap into other committees.
Yeah, so two thoughts on that is that, one, to have more in-depth at this committee and invite those folks from other committees to attend. I do know their time is also limited. And then the other thing is having you go to those other committees for those topics. You would get, if we did invite them here, it might be one or two from the committee. There's 5 or 6 legislators on each committee. So, but as far as I know, for like what was said about the SNAP benefits, that I guess as I'm talking about it, I'm leaning towards, I hate to create more work for you, but it does seem, either to do it that way or to come to the full legislature. We don't always have time at the full legislature to have a longer discussion. Right. So that's more of the issue. So again, I guess I'm thinking this kind of boiling down to going to HHS, at least the Health and Human Services Committee, to talk about the SNAP benefits, at least that. And any other thoughts on folks? Norma?
I just wanted to make a mention that some of the contractual relationships that CCE has with our departments, those are really programs that are done through the departments. It's not really a CCE responsibility oversight. They are responding to a need in the community that the departments are bringing forward. So we might want to keep that in mind too. And just since we're always talking about budget and there's so much information to look at every year, within the budget, all of these contracts are aligned with each department. So as you're reviewing the department's budgets, as we do when we're talking to the departments, we're going to be looking at those contracts as well. So just wanted to make sure we kind of keep that whole concept in mind. We support CCE. I say we, the county supports them directly, which is why you're here. Then the departments also identify a need that they fill, and they're contracting with them as any other contractor, as if, no disrespect, as if it was Staples or any other contractor in the community. That's the type of, so just to keep that in mind.
That's good to know. So that or a good reminder that the contracts, they come, so when we're talking about budgeting, they will come on in the department's budget.
Correct.
Not as a separate line item.
Correct. Yeah.
Leo?
If I could just jump in, I'm glad Norma mentioned that. As an example, CCE provides our master composter program. And that's, I believe, our department's longest running contract, upwards of probably 30 years or so. Adam Michaelides does a phenomenal job with that. The other thing that's kind of under the radar from our department, CCE's location, office location, is a host of one of our largest food scrap drop spots. They see well over 300 visitors every Sunday afternoon. And again, that's our largest drop spot.
Wow.
And it's provided over there as the host of that. So I
It's
just
like
thought
the
I'd make
center
mention.
of Fall Creek social life. Sundays 10 to 2 at CCE.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Our staff love working on that contract too, by the way.
Very much. All right, well, thank you. Thank you for the time. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And every time I'm in this room with my CCE hat on, I also just like to reemphasize that the state created us to be our county's partner in service to the public, and we think about that all the time. So please keep thinking about us too.
I'm sorry for getting here late. We started at 2, didn't we?
Started at 1.
Well, I did get tile up on my wall, so I apologize. But I did have a couple questions for CCE, and I apologize if they've been asked.
Just been doing this for an hour.
What's that?
Nothing.
I can take them offline.
Go ahead, Rich.
I was looking at the pie charts that you shared with us on your slides, and it looks like we, the county, really hit you pretty hard last year in terms of changing the structure of that pie chart.
It had an effect, yes.
Okay.
Projected, 23%, they're down to 21% in 24, and then projected 13% in 2025.
But
that
that was
one?
way to go.
Yeah.
That was one program.
Oh, that was just the way to go.
Not exclusively, but.
But mostly. I mean, there was $443,000, 300 and some thousand was way to go.
That was way to go.
About
So
98,000
the way
or
to go
something
fund
else.
is, program is being done
Is that where most
separately.
of that
It was
change came from?
Yeah.
But we also did some structural, just 5% across the board that
Correct.
had some impact on you as well. And then there's a mention of a federal freeze, but I only saw 2% and 3% in 23 and 24, and then this federal frozen comes up in 25.
That was a new $810,000 award over 18 months that froze before it even started.
So you got it and then they took it away?
Correct.
Or paused it? Okay. All right. think that was all I had, and I apologize. We seem to have meetings start at different times.
But-
Sorry, my
but-
apologies.
And
Okay.
just following up to, Amanda had mentioned maybe to come, I think, Amanda, you had said like to maybe come back in July when we're further into budgeting and give a,
And put
more of a
specifically
snapshot.
those- Okay, you got it. Thank you.
And come at 2, I'll feel better.
Come at 2.
And if you did do, like, say, a memo for then, it could be something like where we have it for that meeting, and we talk about it, and then it could be distributed to all the legislators, because it kind of be more relevant then to more of an impact. Does that sound timing-wise? Okay.
And Cynthia,
Thanks again.
we'd be happy to look it over with you
sounds
before,
good.
if you'd
Okay.
like.
Sounds really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All righty, Norma, we're up to you. Do you have anything under County Administrator's report?
Just, we met with our agencies and departments today regarding budget, and so we will be starting that process. As of Wednesday, the budget will be open for folks to be able to start doing their entry. So, yes, we're beginning.
And
That's
we
all I
heard
have.
there's a different term, not over target. Is there a different term used for that this year?
It hasn't come through the fiscal policy yet, but we're asking for, we're working toward just an enhancement rather than an over-target request so that folks can enter a maintenance of effort, which oftentimes comes through as an over-target request and is a little confusing, I think, even to the legislature. So what we're trying to do is kind of change that up a little bit. So we see maintenance of effort requests and things that are actually an enhancement to their program, and they show separately in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Norma? Thank you. And so now, next we have Department of Recycling Materials Management, and we have Leo and Kat here. Would you like to start with the resolution, or do you have an overall report from the department?
We can start with, either the resolution or the capital payment summary. Capital
you
payment
guys.
summary.
Yep,
We'll
okay.
kind of go in order.
That's on packet page 7, or I'm sorry, that's the top, 27.
Yep.
Was there any questions on that? Or,
Yeah, I can tell you this, probably remember from a year ago about this time where we had all of our challenges with our leachate up at the landfill. I'll hope to give a report to the committee next month, just a volume comparison. We're not struggling with it as bad this year. So we got kind of a reprieve with the volume, but I'll bring that next month. But so this is the capital project at the landfill. This is design, planning, some bid preparation, and that bid currently is in the hands of purchasing, their review. So that'll be going out on the street probably within a couple weeks, I would say, for that project. So this is
this the one to do an extra leachate container?
so this initial steps would be to repair a couple of the large valves in the leachate system at
Okay.
Caswell. And then they'll clean all of the piping. They will clean the 8,000 gallon leachate tank. They'll perform tightness testing onto it. Dispose of any sediments that they get from the cleaning. Am I missing anything, Kat?
I think you covered most of that.
That would be this year at Caswell, yep.
Okay, any questions on this one? All right, thank you.
Yep. Then we
And-
have resolution.
Yep.
Yeah, so Kat's going to talk a little bit on a couple resolutions that we have that have to do with the draft solid waste management plan. We were notified by the state that we have an approvable plan. We've got a couple of steps that we need to take to finish that up, and yeah.
I know
lay
there's
those
many,
out.
many steps along the way, so we're getting closer. So let me put this on the floor, and then we'll talk about it. So this is packet page 28. Okay, it's a long name, but declaring the county as a lead agency to undertake a coordinated review and finding and concluding that adopting the 2023 to 2032 Tompkins County final local solid waste management plan will not result in any significant adverse impacts to the environment. So who would like to move that? Moved by Veronica, seconded by Rich. Okay, Kat, would you like to tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. So as Leo mentioned, April 9th, we got notification that we have an approvable plan. The next step in moving that plan forward is to go through the seeker process. As a component of that, because this plan is a plan that's required by the DEC, we needed to do a coordinated review, which is why we're looking to designate the county as the lead agency. The lead agency letter has already been sent out, and we did not hear back within the required timeline for the state to say they wanted to be the lead agency. So we're at a point where we're looking to declare the county as the lead agency and then to move forward with the negative declaration with the impacts on the seeker process for the first resolution.
Any questions?
On the seeker resolution?
Right. Hearing none? Okay. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. So then the associated one, this is packet page 56. This is a resolution adopting the 2023 to 2032 Tompkins County final local solid waste management plan. Would someone like to move that? Moved by Greg, seconded by Veronica. And
This one
anything
is
else?
fairly straightforward. As a requirement from the state to have a finalized plan, we do need a formal resolution adopting the plan that includes some of the requirements listed in there, such that we will provide annual compliance reporting with the state and include this resolution with the final plan that would get submitted to the state.
And what are the steps after this?
So from here, it goes to the full legislature. Once the full legislature approves it, then that would get included in the draft plan. We submit an environmental news bulletin notice in the ENB, and then submit the materials to the state for acceptance of the finalization.
So any idea on the timeline? Weeks, months?
I think this initially started in 2022. I would hope that we would hear within a few months.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I would hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my understanding at that point, it's more of a formality because we've received notice that it's an approvable plan. They've already gone through the deep detail on kind of making sure that we've hit all the requirements that they have for solid waste management plans.
And is it typical that it takes this long, starting in 2022 with the plan supposedly starting in 2023? Any idea, does it usually take this long?
Well, I know we worked with Bartlett Judas Engineering to kind of help us navigate the plan. And I would say in most cases, yes, it does take a long period of time. There might have been some twists, right, that kind of came into play with this plan.
There were some updates to the regulations between the time the plan was drafted and when the DEC reviewed the plan, which added some layers to the review on the document.
Yeah, so it kind of gets kicked back to us. We make the changes, and then it goes back for review. But yeah, it's a long process.
Any other questions, comments, Rich?
Yeah, I think we could add some more steps for approvals along the way if we just keep bouncing it back with the state.
If Rich had only completely missed the meeting, then we would.
Yeah. Sadly, no. Here I am. I did have a couple of questions. I will vote in support, but I see in here a goal of 85% reduction in landfilling by 2050. That seems like a really ambitious goal, given what we're doing today.
That is the statewide goal, so we try to align with what the state's.
If you want an approvable plan, I guess you say that, right? But is that achievable? Is it just nice words, or?
Can I just add on to that? From the perspective of landfills closing down, I don't know if we have, in some ways, we don't have any choice, but let you guys, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, well, is it achievable? I mean, I would like to think so. But to Ann's point, as landfills are closing, new ones aren't being built, that space is going to become more and more valuable, meaning the cost to dispose of material is just going to escalate out of sight. And I think as that disposal rate goes up, people will be much more informed. They'll be utilizing the different waste reduction methods, whether it's reuse, repair, or the food scraps recycling, the textile recycling. I think we'll see it move at a faster pace over the next, maybe after the next 3 or 4 years. You want to comment?
Yeah, I'll just add that I think the plan has a very robust implementation schedule, and that is kind of trying to help us get in that direction. And I think that's where you see expansion of programs. There was a resolution, I believe it was earlier this year, on extended producer responsibility. If we're looking at kind of addressing some of the challenges before it even gets to the local municipalities by shaping what products are out there, I think that's another direction that really can move the needle that may or may not be quite as in our control at the local level, but we can demonstrate the need for those types of initiatives as well.
Yep. Deconstruction, I think, will be a real big driver as that gets more and more implemented.
That's almost a third of the waste
Yeah.
in landfills.
Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. It's a worthy goal. I just think incredibly hard. And I was fortunate to get a chance to go to Cuba in January. And among the many governmental failures is that they don't collect garbage.
Don't collect it?
No, you have piles of garbage in the cities. And one thing that people do is they just take it out on the highways and throw it on the side of the road, where it often catches fire. And so if you're riding your bike, you ride by these big scorched areas where the garbage has burned, and sometimes, burned up the hillside or whatever. But if it seems like to get there to an 85% reduction, we're going to have to make throwing things away more expensive. And it sure sounds like we will have to respond to that with some pretty strict rules about improper disposal. Is that discussion happening too?
We're currently in the process of updating our laws, which are 30 years old, roughly. And one of the things in those updates are increasing fines. I know there's ideas at the state level with surcharges on tipping fees for material going to landfills, where that surcharge would be spent on education and outreach, as far as educating the public, the different waste reduction and
different reuse initiatives, that type of thing could be funded by that surcharge.
And pushing for environmental, what's the name? The environment, producer responsibility, EPR, so that things are taken back.
Yeah. But
Maybe when I'm retired from the legislature, I'll have an appliance repair.
There you
I
go.
just repaired a 27-year-old washing machine. And
that
and it still
surcharge.
works.
I was gonna say, the surcharge could be implemented within the county, I suppose, too. So,
It's possible.
Yeah.
I think too, the waste reduction and reuse are key components in the solid waste management plan where we really are looking to grow our programming. You know, we've always had a presence there, but that's another area that we want to see increase. So we would love to see more repair in the county if you're,
you could see, Rich, you could see food scrap bans in the landfills, you know, where it'd be illegal to dispose of any food waste in landfills. So as those types of initiatives and things if they were to be put in place, I think you'll see the needle start moving much faster than what it has been.
I agree. I'm looking at your program strategies, and it looks like number 3, number 5, and number 8 all involve trying to get people to be smarter about what they throw away, what they recycle, what they can possibly reuse. I teach a class up at Cornell, and I was grateful to get the help of Barbara Ekstrom. We talked about how do you explain to the public the recycling of plastics and the different categories. And, you know, there were some great ideas that came out of the class. And frankly, I'd like to do it again with a future class if you guys are interested. But one lesson I took from it is the people aren't paying attention to it. They don't have the knowledge base. They don't have the incentives. And they don't do a very good job of it as a result. And I'm wondering if single source recycling, which, you know, you throw everything in the bin, is actually de-educating people to some extent. That should we be thinking more about trying to do it as a ground war where you need people to understand, say, organic waste and food waste, and, you know, get that, and then get, you know, the different kinds of cardboard and what can be attached to the cardboard, but maybe something of being a good citizen is being just knowledgeable about these things.
Yeah.
But again, major undertaking.
Yes, all good points. And you know, one other thing I'll say, on the heels of the customer satisfaction survey that we had put out on the street and buttoned up earlier this year, some of the information that we got back, I mean, people just clearly didn't know about some of our programs, or, you know, just wasn't aware. So, you know, I mean, we certainly can do, and we plan to do, you know, a better job with outreach along the lines of just a back to the basics type program. Yeah.
yeah, education and outreach is huge, and given the community we have, there's always some turnover. I'll take a moment to shamelessly plug that we currently have an opening for a communications specialist. So if anybody is aware of individuals who may be interested in applying, that is open through May 28th. So it's definitely a role that we recognize the importance for, is the education outreach.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this before we vote? Okay, so we're still on the resolution adopting the final solid waste management plan. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. And Rich, sorry to pick on you about coming in late. Or you didn't hear it? Never mind. Didn't say it.
I'm deeply offended.
When you go back and watch the recording, I think you hear it. So,
Well, now I'm going to.
anything else? We had talked about another deconstruction resolution you were thinking of. Do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, we had had a discussion about the potential to bring forward a resolution, non-binding resolution to support deconstruction. So as I think you're all aware, you've probably seen Crowd come in and present. They do a lot of education and outreach around deconstruction, but it is the systemic dismantling of buildings, taking them apart piece by piece for reuse of those components or recycling, as opposed to demolition, where you're kind of knocking everything down. So we were interested, we've been kind of following what's been going on in the communities. City of Auburn, I think, was the first place to pass something like a resolution supporting deconstruction. Town of Dryden passed something similar earlier this year. And so it really, we're seeing the awareness in the state kind of increase and the conversation increase around deconstruction, and felt that bringing something forward could be a way to just kind of highlight and show that the county, along with it, which is in line with our solid waste management plan, supporting a local circular economy, is interested in this as well.
Any discussion? Rich?
Yes, I would certainly entertain a resolution along those lines.
Yeah, thank you. You had sent an email about it, and I wasn't sure, what the purpose was. So this helps explain it, and it's too bad we're not the first one. But, so it doesn't mean we have to do anything, but it's making a statement saying that we think this is important, and that, and then where do we go from there?
I think we continue to follow the conversation and look for opportunities. I know certainly I've heard conversations at the level of kind of what's going on with certain county facilities, thinking that through. I think we've mentioned it in the past that we're happy to help document kind of what efforts are being done. We had a minor pilot at the facility when we did some renovations over there to see what does this look like? What are the challenges? What are the needs? And how does this actually play out? Because we recognize that there's still need for infrastructure, for expertise. And so we're looking to kind of, in line with the solid waste management plan, continue to support. Would you add anything?
We get pulled in with facilities and discussions. I think there's a meeting tomorrow, maybe a whole on the center of government buildings. So we're plugged in, and we're going to certainly help support Arel with anything he needs in any way we can, I suppose, right? Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be next month. I'll see that. Okay. Anything else from your department?
I'll just say, let's see. We finished up pulling together our 2024 annual report. That'll be posted on our website toward the end of the week. But we'll get that report to all the legislators within the next day or two.
Okay.
And let's see. We talked about landfill tour. Sorry we haven't gotten much out on that, but we're thinking probably the best time of year would be maybe toward the end of June-ish. So we thought we would send out one of those surveys as far as available times. And we'll send those to all the legislators, some administration staff, and a few of our comrades at the planning department.
Great.
So, okay. Lastly, this will be the last thing. I just wanted to make sure that committee members knew, and I have mentioned this to Norma and Corsa, but Kat was really like the major contributor and author of that solid waste management plan. She put tons and tons of work into this plan. Just the coordination of the steps of the plan were just difficult usually, to say the least. But I wanted you to just know the effort that she put into that. And she just did a fabulous job with it. So
You did. Thank you very much, Kat. Great job.
And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ann.
And we're running a little over time, or a little behind time, I'll say. So come on up for our planning department. We have Katie Bergella and Abigail Connor.
It usually goes to.
How are you folks doing today?
Great.
Doesn't find it.
Thanks for coming in, even though it's it was sunny outside.
There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Sorry.
And so do you have any report for us, Katie, from the whole department?
Yeah, just a few things to update you on. I hope you all enjoyed Terry and Haley's report to the legislature the other day. They put in a lot of work to make that happen and a lot of work to make all the projects happen. So they're happy to present that to you. Abigail, in a little bit, will be sharing what she, with the help of Darby Kiley in the office, have been working on pulling together as a resource for these changing flood maps and just flooding in general to help educate our community members. And right now, Abigail is in the process of hiring a project assistant to help with baseline reports, which is something you do every 10 years, I believe, on the agricultural conservation easements that we hold. These are some of the major farms that are due for these baseline reports, and since I was the one who did them 10 years ago, I know how much work's involved with it. So Abigail's going to be spending time this year doing that, as well as all the other annual monitoring that we do for that program.
Will that be a temporary person?
Yep. We have, you all allocated money last year for 320 hours of a project assistant to help with that.
Okay, thank you.
And then, you know, I think it's a long shot, but I do always want to let committees know when we do apply for funding opportunities. Back in March, we applied for a grant opportunity through Coalition for Green Capital and ICLEI. We're a member of ICLEI. It's a support system for local governments striving to reduce climate change. So the grant would be partnering with community sustainability partners, the City of Ithaca and Cornell Systems Lab, to get $200,000 to the nonprofit community sustainability partners to develop a pipeline of projects to tap into federal funding and green bond financing to advance clean energy projects. This was kind of early in the world of federal funding, so we don't know what to expect. We had hoped in mid-April that we would hear back on that, but we have heard that the funds were frozen at this time. So just wanted to let you know that we tried to take the lead on something like that locally here. And then the last thing I wanted just to float by you guys and get just your thought is back when the legislators and department heads met, there was kind of this idea of maybe there's room for education on the general topics that we do. And I think planning in particular is a department that might lend itself to something like that, because we do so many different programs, and you see a lot of actions come through, and we try to report on things like this website, the new initiatives. But I think sometimes you might miss some of the breadth of the things that we do on the day-to-day. And so I guess I just wondered, maybe, I was thinking maybe starting in July when we get a little closer to elections, and perhaps the people who are running for election would be watching some of these, or they could go back and look at them. To get, you know, 1 month we could do agriculture and natural resources. Another month we could do something like climate resiliency on the local level in the community, water resources, that type of thing.
Okay, I like the idea. What do other folks think?
Your thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you for thinking
Yeah.
of that.
We were thinking of doing it at HED as well.
Always welcome.
Okay, that's it from me, thanks.
And I'll reach out to, and you know, we have John here, but we'll reach out to some of the folks running for office, because we're going to have so many new legislators. We'll make sure that, you know, they're alerted to, you know, they often ask, like, what do the departments do? And so this helps give them an insight into what the departments do.
Yeah, that was my hope, is while they're not completely overwhelmed with everything, they might have a little time to look at some recordings or attend a meeting.
Thank you. Anything else before Abigail takes it away?
No.
All right, Abigail, over to you.
Great. So we let you guys know that we were updating some of our flood information resources on the website, and those are now live. So what I'm planning to do is walk you through where that's located now on the new website and kind of what those resources are. So feel free to stop me at any point if you have questions. But this is the new website, and this is something we're maintaining for the county as a whole. So it's listed under government resources, and you can access this flood information here. So there's a little bit of information, just of an overview about the pages here. The new pages that have been updated are these two, and just a reminder for folks, we've had up on the website these FAQs that were approved and gone over by DEC and FEMA, as well as a walkthrough of the digital resource of how to see the current effective maps, as well as the preliminary maps that will become effective in June of this year. So there is a full walkthrough on this page of how to use that map and how to access it. And some local contacts and resources down here, as well as an archive of any news items that we've posted through this page so that those stay there. But what I'm planning to walk you through today are these flood insurance and flood risk and preparedness tabs, which are the new resource that we've put together. So our goal with all of this was to try to compile as much information as possible in really short, digestible videos or other really easy to read documents. So I'll just quickly walk through this. The resource is there for folks to access. But so here for flood insurance, we have a couple short videos about what determines how much I pay for flood insurance, how do I buy it, and then specifics for different types of users or folks who will need to access insurance throughout the county. So we're looking at a resource here for renters. I think this one is definitely really big because a lot of folks don't know you can get contents-only flood insurance. You don't have to be a homeowner to get flood insurance. And then additional resources for homeowners and business owners, folks who would be required if they have a federally backed mortgage and are in a special flood hazard area to get flood insurance, but as always are encouraged to consider their risk and talk to their insurance agents about that. So a document here that walks folks through things, a video from the New York State Association of Professional Surveyors walking through how to get a flood elevation certification, how to file a claim for insurance if you needed to do that. Again, just hoping to make a resource where folks can go and know that there is information where they can self-serve. Again, some additional pieces here for insurance agents and real estate agents, just so they know that there is a resource there as we continue to let people know that this is here. And then just some, especially with the flood insurance, we wanted to ensure that there was a lot of information here because we know there are a lot of questions. And so just some additional information that folks can read through of additional sites they can go to get more information, and some printable items down here.
Can I ask, how do you get to this page from your main page?
It's not listed on the plannings page. It's from the main website. So this is the Tompkins County homepage here, and you go to government resources and to flood information.
Thanks.
Are you able to get in?
I'm trying. Let's see.
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
And so this second section we put together that I think is really important as we consider the implications of new FEMA flood maps, are flood risks and preparedness in addition to that flood insurance. And so these two items here really walk through thinking about flooding and risk and what that means, what it means to be prepared. This third video here is pretty great. It walks through exactly how the maps were created. It goes through the full process in another community. I think that's helpful. I think we've seen a lot of questions about that of why does this work the way that it does? Why is this happening to my community? And this is it's an excellent video that walks through that. And then under flood preparedness, we talked with emergency response and kind of walked through some of this, how to quickly prepare your home right now, things you can do, 5 things you can do quickly, and some additional printable things people can have on hand of how to protect your home, as well as a long list here about thinking about getting prepared. So signing up for siren alerts, thinking about the New York alerts, and there's a whole slew here of emergency supplies or communication plans, getting your technology ready for an emergency, really just thinking about that holistically. As well as a little note here that we wanted to be sure we added here, because we know when people start thinking about this, they think about shelters, but that the county doesn't do blue sky shelters, but this just notes in the case of emergency where shelters were put into place, this is where those notifications would be
What are blue
posted.
sky shelters?
In good weather, the county doesn't have active shelters that they say, like, this is where you will go in an emergency, because they call it blue sky because nothing bad has happened, I guess. But that they're emergency-based for the county, because then they can make sure that their resources are going to the location that needs it the most.
So more for shelters, it would be repurposing other areas,
Yeah.
like schools or things like that.
And it sounds like importantly, you can't know the location of a shelter ahead of time because it's going to be different depending on the disaster.
Right. And we wanted to make sure that was noted here, because I think as you think through this, that's part of your plan. That isn't a piece, the location at least, that can be offered, but where the location will be posted is what we tried to articulate here.
Okay.
And the additional piece that's on both of these pages here at the bottom, I think you can see that, yeah, is just trying to be open to a place for feedback for folks. If they see something that's not on this webpage that they think would be valuable, there's an opportunity there for them to fill out this form. It comes straight to me, and I can look into that and see if it's something we can add up on this page.
Are the maps in here somewhere?
Yes, it's that fourth tab there.
Flood insurance rate map tools? And where on that page, because that's where I'm at. I've got helpful definitions, I got using the map viewer, and additional mapping information.
Yep, right at the top, the FEMA's Firm Viewer of Tompkins County.
How do you access it? Because I click on it and nothing happens.
This link right here, it pops out to a map.
Just below the map.
Firm viewer of Tompkins?
And maybe in the switch of the website, the picture used to click, but we'll get that updated.
Okay. And then, so now I've got Ontario and Tompkins County.
Yeah, so you can type in an address there in search. So this map actually, when we first received the notification from FEMA, they told us that we were kind of out of luck that we weren't one of the communities that had digitized effective maps, and we said no. And so the reason that you see Ontario and Tompkins is Ontario is actually also being updated, and they used this same platform to do that, but that's exciting for Ontario that we put in the original push to get this to happen. But you can type in an address right in the upper left-hand corner, and it'll come right into Tompkins.
Do we want to try an address?
Yeah, what do you got? We can do right here.
Yeah.
Use Rich's address.
I'm looking at, I have a property on the West End, and so it looks like gray isn't very good. But I'm assuming.
No, so let's see. So here we are, right here. This is our dot. And so all of these things, sorry, I got the Zoom window in the way here. You'll see up in the top, so the web page walks through this as well. This is what we're looking at currently. These are things that they have auto turned on. And so we can go over to this little stack of papers and turn some of those things off. So I'm going to turn off the building footprints because I don't like those. They're hard to see. And so this tells us that the preliminary flood hazard zones are turned on. And if we check this box, that turns on the effective, which is that CoreLogic. It's just they're trying to be very careful. Those are the current maps. CoreLogic is the company that digitized those for them. And so that you can see the change. This orange check is what will become current in June. But what we have currently effective is that not hashed, that full orange that you see. And so that's 500-year floodplain, though, the orange. If you're looking for 100-year floodplain, which has the requirement for flood insurance, that's the blue color. And so if we go out, we can see more blue. Sorry, this computer prefers a mouse. So a location over here, you'll see, if it loads out, is blue. So this checked blue, you'll see here, this solid blue is what's current. The checked blue is what will become effective.
Interesting that one house.
That one house lucked out.
Yeah, so it depends on elevation, and it depends on what happened with the models. There is a touch of the corner, and so if I would suggest this property owner reaches out to FEMA and asks those questions.
So that's Nate's Floral Estates, is that right there? Yeah, Greg?
Yeah, this is great. I really appreciate the public information aspect of this, and I know Monica is on as well. Is there sort of a plan, or has there been outreach or share this with the community, you know, plan to kind of roll this out in any of our newsletters or updates or e-blasts or whatever? That would be great. And then I have a second question.
I'll start with the first one. We are trying to be intentional, as we have through this whole process, to not make it further confusing of what role the county can or does play in this process. So our goal really here is to create this information for the municipalities to run with. So we have issued this to all the municipalities, this update, as well as additional information for them to be sending to their community members. And we're working currently with the city on an updated mailer. We did a mailer, I guess it was 2 years ago, that went to the postal codes that would be affected, just a postcard. And so we're working on an updated version of that, and that would be the most affected, dense area.
And then second question, is there advocacy that can be done around this issue? And is that something that as we develop this resource or tool, you know, how can people who are passionate about this, you know, we've heard a lot of things about flood control and this and, you know, doing X, Y, or Z. Is there anything as it relates to, as a community member, as a municipality, are there things that I can do to make it better other than just be prepared for the disaster? And it would be in the prevention of a disaster.
Yeah, I think mitigation is always an option. And so whatever you can do on your own properties and continue to talk about with other folks, I think that is maybe a smaller drop in the bucket. Go ahead, Katie.
Oh, I would just say, I mean, to mitigate the impact of flooding is storing the water upstream, creating wetlands upstream, doing proper ditch management to slow the water down and filter out the sediments that come down. You know, we have a study right now. We got $75,000 from the DEC to study Fall Creek, and we're also waiting on, 6 Mile Creek. We're waiting on Fall Creek for the same funding pot. But part of that will be looking at flood retention areas upstream. So that's not advocacy per se, but it's probably the most effective way you could reduce downstream impacts. And I know the city of Ithaca is active on the flood walls and dredging and those aspects, but I believe they've met some pretty hard no's from FEMA on a lot of those topics.
Yeah, I think it would be, as this evolves, right? This is an amazing first step. But if there's opportunity to talk about some of the mitigating factors, right? Advocacy around the creation of wetlands or the preservation of them, or what helps this from not happening. Those kind of things I think are great too, because as townspeople, right, as we all sort of hear in our communities what's happening, we can go out and say, hey, this would be a good thing because I read it on the website, and you know, this will help, you know, flooding downstream, whatever, you know what I mean. And I know it's a heavy lift, and it's what is the county's role, and what's the work capacity, but just some thoughts on taking it a step further. But this is a great step.
I will say our natural infrastructure program is probably the most effective tool we have right now for protecting upland waters, and that's a mission of the program, is to reduce flooding downstream.
Amanda?
Yeah, interestingly, I just got this county news newspaper from NACO, National Association of Counties, and on the front page, there's a headline that says, "Counties scramble after FEMA scraps disaster mitigation funds." And I'll just read a couple sentences. Earlier this month, FEMA announced it is no longer allocating $750 million through its Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grant program, and will stop funding previously approved projects. In many counties, including Napa County, California, BRIC-funded projects were already underway. They had already awarded $27 million in contracts for wildfire prevention work, and they have to pull that money back. And then it goes on, it talks about fire relief, but in Jefferson County, Kentucky, was dealing with historic flooding when FEMA announced that the grant program had been cut. With the help of BRIC funding, the county was set to upgrade its 70-year-old flood infrastructure through improvements to the West Woods Creek Basin and Western Flood Pump Station, which helped protect more than 200,000 people. So it goes on to talk about, the funding isn't going to be available, so cities and counties now have to figure out how to find more funding to upgrade the infrastructure. And of course, that costs our taxpayers more when we have to come up with that ourselves. So one advocacy thing would be to contact your representatives at the state and federal level and tell them that that's not acceptable.
Rich?
Yeah, I don't want to be redundant here, but this seems like one of the major public safety, economic development crises that we're sitting here on, and we've watched the city and the state go back and forth about dredging without doing any dredging. It's long past time, and I'm wondering, is there any steps the county could do? I know shouldn't be our role, but they're not getting it done. And when we have a failure, which seems to be one storm away, I think we're going to sit here and people are going to be mad at us too. Yep. They should be, if there was something we could do and we didn't. Is there anything?
I mean, I guess I haven't been in those conversations in the last couple of years, but for years the county played the role of saying, have you made any progress? Have you made it? Yeah. And it was never invited for us to participate in any way or try to help. I guess it's more of a political question really than a staff question as to whether there are any steps that could be taken. I'm happy to raise the issue with city staff again to see though.
Yes, please. But it sounds like we probably should raise our voices as well. Yeah. Should talk to our colleagues on Common Council. And I don't know who at the state. I mean, we raised it with Anna Kellis when she visited with us, and she made all the right noises. And I don't think there was any result of that. It seems like the New York State DEC is its own creature and it doesn't listen or respond. That's unfortunate, but here we sit.
Arma?
There's also, the community rating system is something that the city of Ithaca could take advantage of, right?
Correct, and they're actively investigating that right now.
I know when I worked for the Realtors several years ago, I reached out to them. We hadn't, so it's been a long time.
Right.
So if you're talking about advocacy, that might be another place is to see where that is, and hopefully it won't sit too many more years.
But that makes the insurance more affordable. It doesn't do anything to address the root cause.
Well, what it means is there's some adjustments that are made at the residential level to protect those homes from flood damage. So there's work that's done.
Physical work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the program requires, in order to get a certain amount of points, there are certain mitigation actions you have to take. And the more points you have, the larger reduction in the insurance cost.
Yeah, raising your your heater above a certain flood level, or there's a few things that they can.
And electrical.
Electrical, right.
And I will say, our staff did take a role in trying to make connections for the city to pursue that more easily, and it was written up in our resiliency plan in great detail and shared with the city, as well as like what the process is and what you get out of the process. So.
And we were able to make a strong connection between the city staff and DEC staff, who have some oversight of the dredging issue, and so hopefully things proceed there.
That's great.
Greg?
Yeah, a different topic, but similar, because we touched on wetlands, and I know state wetland mapping kind of went out the window-ish, maybe, kind of, where they're sort of determining on a case-by-case basis if wetlands exist somewhere rather than having maps. Did that continue to go through in what I'm recalling?
Yes.
Okay, so ish, yeah, I'm sure I'm not getting all the specifics right. But I think that has a pretty significant impact on members in our community. And is there any thought in your department around knowledge, awareness raising, or what this means for, the general public who may be wanting to do something but may have a new wetland appear on their property?
Yeah, that's something Darby Kiley is leading the effort on and trying to identify, educational opportunities and best steps. She works closely with Water Resources Council, so she's got that brain trust to help her think through the options on that. But yeah, she's working hard on that. And she's also working hard trying to identify kind of next steps with the TMDL, the total maximum daily load issue, and how to explain that to people and what the next steps are with that process. So yeah, I think I had thought about having her come in October to talk, but maybe I'll have her come a little earlier. But I figured you just heard the Water Resources Council annual report, but maybe you have additional questions you'd like answered sooner than that.
Thank you.
Rich, and we have 2 minutes left.
Yeah, probably if she could come sooner rather than later, that would be good. I talked to somebody who was saying that changes in these rules could effectively make it very hard to build anything, and particularly housing, if there's any spread on it.
There are big ramifications of it. Yeah, I can see it slow down projects pretty dramatically because you have to propose something and then you have to contact DEC to see if they can get someone out to make a determination for every development project. So it doesn't seem very sustainable with their current staff levels, at least, and I haven't heard of a dramatic increase of staff being proposed.
Well, I'm sure once they get the dredging done, they'll have lots of time.
That's
But,
right.
yeah. Here we are.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much, and this is really helpful to walk us through that. So thank you, and thank you for the reports. And I think that's all the time we have today. Anything else real pressing from anybody? No. Okay, then at 3 o'clock, we are adjourned right on time. Thanks, everybody, for a great meeting.
Thank you, Ed.